Morning, everyone. Thank you all for participating in the Connecting to Collections initiative. This has been a great grant program, and I can't believe that it's almost over. It's kind of unbelievable that it's almost been 3 years and that we're getting ready to wrap up later this year. So I appreciate all of your time that you've taken to participate and to learn and to share what you know, your expertise. It means a lot, and it really makes FAM who we are and makes what we do worthwhile. So thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about outreaching and educating our elected and public officials about collections and how important our collections are and collections care in particular. Why is it necessary for you to communicate with your elected officials? And why does it mean so much to your institution? And it's because they make decisions not only about funding, but about any type of substantive issues that may impact your different institutions. So it is important to know them every day, all day long, not just when you need them. And it's your responsibility as a citizen, just like it is for you to vote, for you to also communicate with your officials. And you are allowed to do it. It's not something that you can't do unless your work prohibits you from doing it. But as a personal citizen, you're also allowed to. Museums and collecting institutions need the support of our elected officials because they do determine policies and programs and funding, and they play a vital role in our communities. So the more we get to know them, the better off we are in the future, and the easier it is to educate them and show them the importance of what we do every day. Regular communication. I preach this all the time, and it's so interesting. I'll go and sit in on a webinar or go to a workshop, and I'll watch and see what somebody else is saying about advocacy and about education and about doing, just really getting out there and reaching out to your community and teaching what it is that you do as a collecting institution. And I'll listen to what they say, and we all sound like a broken record, which is reassuring because it means that I'm telling you the right stuff. But it's also so interesting that you may be in a totally different state, in a totally different area in the region of the U.S., and we're all pretty much saying the same thing. So elected officials at the federal, state, and local levels are your deciding people when it comes to policies and funding issues. And you need to establish a relationship with them in advance so that when it comes time for grants, for all types of policies, for things that are local tax issues, that they already know who you are, so that when you go to them, you can get in the door and you're not blocked from getting in because they are very busy. What steps should you take? First of all, you should educate yourself. It's so easy now with the internet. In the past, everything was in writing. You had to pull out a book. You had to do all these different ways to do research. But now you can get online and look. You can get on, particularly in Florida, flsenate.gov or myfloridahouse.com, and you can look at those. You can pull up your elected officials. You can do it by your zip code in case you don't know who they are, or maybe you're moving and you want to know who your new elected officials are. And that will pull up your local legislators, and also it will show your Congress representatives. And you can find out, who they are. Are they married? Do they have a significant other? Do they have children? What is their line of work? And that way you kind of get a sense of what they already are thinking or which direction they're going in. You can go in and look at their voting records, see how they voted on a particular issue, so that you can find out, if you already see that they're a supporter of what you do, or is there a much needed education in that line so that you can help them understand the importance of what we do every day. You don't need to be an expert in everything. That's not what I'm saying, but you can take a little bit of time, do some quick research, and you'll really learn a lot about them. A lot of times I'll look at a legislator and I'll see that they have kids that are, of an age that would enjoy going to a museum. So when I talk to them, I mention things like that because it may be something that they're interested in. Future leadership may have a desire to know more about archaeology. So maybe while you're talking to them, you mention an archaeological artifact or something like that. It's just a way to really show them that you know something and that you may have something to offer that's more interesting to them. Effective communication. This day and age, face-to-face is the best time when they're in their district. Other than that, probably email or telephone is the best way. Faxes are kind of becoming obsolete. Mail takes too long. Most everything that we do it has a deadline, and it has to be done sooner than later. But I recommend, once we get past elections in the even years, that as soon as the elections are over, you go meet your new legislators, or even reintroduce yourself to those that are coming back that are incumbents. Going to see them in the district means that they are there. They're more focused on their local community, on the area they represent. When you see them in Tallahassee, they've got all these different people hitting them from every direction. It's organized chaos is the way I look at it, and they don't focus as much because they're not in their district, and they don't really think of you until you pointed out that you are their constituent and you're the person that vote for them. So a face-to-face meeting in the home district is always the best. And then when you come to Tallahassee, which we hope you do sometime during session, then you just pop in and say hello. If they're there, if you can make an appointment, that's great. If not, you're meeting with their staff and you're reminding them who you are and what you do. One of the biggest things is getting to know the staff. I mean, a lot of times you're not going to get to talk to the different elected official, whether it's your school board member, your county commissioner, your city commissioner, your state legislator, your congressperson, whoever it is, you need to know their staff, because their staff do a lot of the background work. And that way, when you need something, you can reach out to that staff person and they'll already know who you are. And then also, as they're gathering information for their boss, they may contact you and say, hey, I need this type of information. Can you provide it to me? You're then become a resource, which is absolutely key to making sure they realize that you have the answers, that you have a legitimate background, and then that way you really show them what you know and you can help them do their job better. Add them to any type of publications that you do, newsletters, any type of openings, any type of programming. Make sure they're invited. Make sure you reach out to them. They love to attend things that are out in the public, and it also really shows them the side of what you really do. Educate them. Like I said earlier, you can act as a reliable resource. What a great thing when I get an email or a call from a legislative office that says, hey, I need to know something about this particular institution, or can you give me some figures? How many museums are there? How many visitors are there? What's the economic impact? That is such a great feeling when you get that call and they're looking to you for that information, because that means that you've become a reliable resource, and now they're going to go to you when they need information. If I don't know something, I absolutely say, I don't have the answer to that right now, but I will get back with you. Or if it's something particular that deals with a particular museum, a zoo, a botanical, whatever it is, I'll put them on to the right person so that I'm making sure that I give them the best advice that they need and the correct advice. Recognize them whenever possible. Sometimes you may invite them to an opening. Say you're opening a new exhibit. You invite them. Make sure you recognize the fact that they're there. They love the fact that you've taken the time to notice that they're at your event, and that you just recognize them. You don't have to give them something. You're just making that public notice. Hey, this person is here. What a great way for you then to introduce them to the rest of the museum community, and then they feel comfortable in making contact in the future. It's so important to do that as often as possible. Take their picture, put it in your newsletter, put it on your website, use it in whatever way you can, because then use that when they're reaching out to people. They say, look, I did this for this particular institution. Get to know them. The best time to meet them is when you don't need them. I cannot say that enough times. I bet I've said it 1,000 times to some people. It's absolutely the best time that you need to get to know them. Call them and make an appointment. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't be nervous about doing it. It's your right to do that. That's your elected official. They're put in office by the people in your community. So you absolutely should call and make an appointment when you can and go meet with them. Know your issues. And if there's a particular issue that needs a resolution, you can come up with solutions. You can offer ideas of how we can solve a problem if there is a problem. Or maybe you're just thanking them for something that they've done. Maybe you're saying, thank you so much for the support in the past. We really look forward to your support in the future. If the official isn't available, meet with their staff. Their staff are key. Most of the time when I go to the Capitol, I meet with staff. I don't get to see them because they're busy. They're going in and out of committee meetings, or they're on the floor of the legislature. They only have so much time. So a lot of times I meet with staff, and it's great when the staff already know who I am and they know what I'm going to say when I get there. So if you can't meet with your actual elected person, then definitely meet with the staff person. Remember that the staff make decisions and they carry issues forward on your behalf. A lot of times the legislator may come out and say, you know, I've got this email from a constituent. What do you know? If the staff person is aware and already has an answer, they turn right around and they answer the question for you. Another thing that's not on the slide, but I want to mention it, is legislative delegation meetings happen usually in the fall. Usually they're later when it's an election year, but like this year, they'll start noticing those. You can go online and look for them. They happen in your community. It's normally all of the members of your legislative delegation in one room. It's a public meeting. They typically take a list of names. You can get up and you have about 2 minutes and you can say something. If nothing else, if you're not asking for anything in particular, just get up, tell who you are, what organization you represent, and tell them that you appreciate their past support or you are looking forward to their future support. If it's a grant issue, mention what grant it is, mention the impact it has, how many jobs it creates. This is just a great way for you to have a face in the community and get in front of your elected officials so that they remember who you are in the future. Today's city and county commissioners are tomorrow's legislators. So if your city and county commissioners know about your organization, know about your library, know about your museum, know about your collecting institution, whatever it is, and they know about it now, down the road, if they run for office for a legislative or a congressional seat, they already know who you are, and you can just go in and remind them. Today's legislators are your future congressmen and women. So if they know, if you start at the city and county level and then move to the legislative level, by the time they get to Congress, they ought to know who you are. They're probably tired of you, but at least they'll know when you need them that you're really reaching out and that you don't just do it just to do it. So it's really important for you to start from the ground level and go up. So a lot of people have been involved in the Connecting to Collections program, as Robin said earlier in her comments. It's had a tremendous impact across the state. I think the most exciting part about it has been that it's not just museums, it's libraries, it's archaeology, it's all these different collecting institutions. And it's really brought together a group of people that not always talk. And so I think it's built a collaboration that may not have existed. Now, in some communities, it may have already existed, but I think we've really helped in some areas that it wasn't happening. I know, for instance, right now I'm meeting with a group of like-minded organizations, Florida Humanities Council, Florida Library Association, FAM. A bunch of us are getting together because we see what's going on the state level in particular and the federal level. And we're all out there kind of aiming for the same thing. So we're getting together, we're starting to meet monthly, and we've even come up with with a unique name for ourselves, and we're sharing our legislative platforms. We're sharing our information on the federal level, and we're just going to stay in contact so that we're all working for the same common good. As part of that, we have planned the Connecting to Collections celebration, where we will be recognizing all of our participants for these years at our conference in Naples. It seemed like the thing, instead of creating another celebration at some other time, for those that are able to attend FAM and for even those that aren't, we're going to recognize everybody who's participated during our awards ceremony on Tuesday, September 19th. And that will be held at Artist Naples. And I can get out information. Robin can get it out to everybody. If you're not going to be able to participate, I understand, but we're going to open the door to whoever can. Maybe you can just come in for that evening. But we will make sure that everyone is recognized, whether you're present or not. And maybe there's a way that we can have an online component to it also, like we've done all of these training sessions. I think that this is a great way to really show not only you guys that have participated, but all of FAM, the FAM board, and everybody who comes to the FAM conference, the broad impact that this program has actually had. And what's really interesting is that American Alliance of Museums will be there. We're hoping IMLS representative will be there, which is even better because it really shows the impact that this program has had on this state and on all of these different institutions. And it shows that we've really collaborated and really worked together. So who's going to be invited to that celebration? Of course, you are, your leadership. So you're going to be invited to invite any board members, any senior staff, your community leaders. We will invite all of the local legislators in the Naples area. Anybody at your collecting organizations or in your community that you feel like needs to be involved can be a guest. And we're going to invite the leadership of each of our partner organizations. So to me, it can be a much larger group, and it can really pull us together one last time. And hopefully in the future, we'll come up with another program and we'll get back together and do the next steps of what need to be done. Or we'll redo some of these, because as you know, and as you've learned, a lot of times you've got to constantly look at your policies, look at your procedures, make sure they're up to date, make sure things haven't changed. So it should be a pretty broad celebration, and we're really excited to do that at the FAM conference. I think I'm done with my part. I know that was quick, but I wanted to make sure I tried to cover everything. Some of you probably have heard this 20 times and you don't want to hear it again. Elise, Robin, all you guys that have been around forever. So I want to open it up for any questions to see if there's questions out there. I'm happy to answer any. If you don't feel comfortable doing it now, you can always call me. You can always email me. I'm happy to talk to you at any point. So I'll open the floor up for any questions.
Thank you so much, Melinda. That was a great coverage. And I think there's something really important, this is Robin speaking, to talk about where, you know, as collections people, we're often like second or third behind the lines, you know, like we're kind of in the back. But I still think, you know, whenever I've worked at museums, whenever legislators come to visit, they always want to go see the collections. So I think it's always important for us to have our little talk, basically, of why we think it's important back there. I mean, do you, in your opinion, I don't think it's really, do you think we should reach out as collections people to our legislators, or do you think it's usually like the channel, the regular channels of communication, where you should probably talk to your executive director first before you make any reach out to legislators? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
I think it could be both, and I think you've got to make a personal decision of what's best in your institution. If you feel like you need to clear it with your director, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I think that you should go through the proper channels. I do agree with what you said. I think that the sexier side of a lot of our institutions are our collections. I know that when we do tours with legislators and show them the behind the scenes, that's when the wow and the awe factor comes in. That's when they see the side of what it is you're really about. So yes, you do programming. Yes, you do educational outreach. Yes, you serve the public in your community, but you also hold these treasures that came from our community that help build on our history and our heritage. So I think as a staff person, you've got to decide what's best. but I also think that as a voting constituent, that it's your right and responsibility to reach out to that legislator just to inform them and educate them on what you do in your position. And that doesn't mean that you're taking on the role of what the director or what the museum or the library or whatever it is would be doing, but you're kind of just educating them about what a collections registrar, curator, exhibit design, whatever it is you do, really does.